gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's July the 30th, 2024. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And man, is there a lot of news of the day, the news of the week. We've got media day today with the football team, the coaches, the players. So we'll have tons of coverage from that for you guys. And then the first day of practice is tomorrow on Green Tree Practice Field. And then obviously a few days of practice this week. And then Sunday will be Canes Fest at Hard Rock Stadium. And you guys are going to get a chance to see your Miami Hurricanes practice on Sunday. Those of you that are local in South Florida, I know a lot of people are looking forward to that. We took a few weeks off from the show to get some vacation time in, recharge the batteries. Couple weeks, no Matt Shodell. I know I feel very energized. I'm looking at myself on the monitor here. I think I look younger, a few less, still a few grays creeping in there. But anyway, Matt, I'm fired up, man. And I know people, oh, yeah, there's Gary's, going to start pumping things up again and look at everything through those orange and green cup. But I'm excited for this season. I really am. I think that they have upgraded the personnel on this football team significantly. And of course, that has raised the bar. And I wrote a column about that that's on the website that if anybody hasn't had a chance to read, they can check out. And I made the point that, with the expectations justifiably ratcheted up, with all the enthusiasm and excitement, I think there is now more, I don't want to know if I want to use the word pressure, but how about urgency? Let's say there's more urgency now for this team, for this set of coaches, Mario on down, to prove it. Let's start seeing some results here in this 2024 season. No excuses, no, crazy errors. They cost football games. None of that stuff has a place this year. Matt, it's time for the Canes to start looking a little bit more like the Canes again. I got to believe you agree with that.
First off, I'm very excited to be back on the morning show. I couldn't be happier to be doing this again in the mornings. Very, very excited. They rated, I was hoping against hope that the outcry of viewership to get rid of Matt Shodell on this show would have actually resonated with you. I just for fun, I looked at the worst TV shows of all time, because I figure this is one of the worst podcasts of all time, from my perspective at least. Do you know the number one rated worst TV show of all time by TV Guide was the Jerry Springer Show. Also on the list, Homeboys in Outer Space and The Flying Nun. If we were a TV show, I think we'd replace the Jerry Springer Show, because we have less humor than the Jerry Springer Show did. I watched the Jerry Springer Show. I didn't think it was so bad. I did not watch Homeboys in Outer Space. I did watch The Flying Nun. Pretty sure Sally Field was in that, if I remember correctly, because when I was younger, we only got 5 channels. My parents never paid for cable because, why bother when your son looks like this? He doesn't need to socialize with anybody and talk about popular TV shows. He could just watch Channel 13 in New York, which was, public access television. And that's why I know so much about nature, because that's all they showed on Channel 13 was nature shows. And that's pretty much all I was allowed to watch. So, which brings us to the Miami Hurricanes, because, I like I said, I studied my entire youth. I studied nature, and human nature is part of nature, right? And it's just mind-boggling to me how every single ACC human being that went onto the podium in the last week at the football kickoff basically said that their team was going to be great this year. You know, Syracuse is predicting a national championship. Wake Forest is going to win the ACC. So, like, when I hear the hype around Miami and all the Homo sapiens that are declaring Miami's back and how great everything is, and the defense is amazing now, and you know, like something's changed since April when we last saw this team. Like magically in May, June, and now most of July, when really they haven't wanted us to see anything, and we haven't seen anything. We've talked to a few players, obviously, and a few sources, and of course, the people at Miami are going to tell us the same thing they told the world at Media Day, which is everything's great here at Miami. You know, the players are better than we thought they'd be. You know, Cam Ward's never going to throw an incomplete pass. You know, I'm perhaps having a little bit of a hyperbole. You can look that word up, Gary. But with that said, you know, I personally take everything with a grain of salt. I understand that Mario Cristobal seems to be building a program that is going to compete for championships at some point. Is that this year? I'm not ready to declare that. I know the schedule certainly seems to fit the bill. I know that Cam Ward could and should be one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC and in the nation. Is the defense ready to do its part? I don't know. So, yeah, you wrote this great column about how amazing everything is because, you know, if you listen to Miami people, that's the truth. And if there's national pundits who talk to Miami sources, they're going to hear how great Miami is. If there's national pundits who listen to any other ACC team and want to write about them, they're going to say how amazing they are too, because there's nobody right now really in the country that's saying our team is probably not going to be very good. You know, I think if we win 5 games, if we win 5 games, it'll be a miracle. You know, no one's saying that. But if you want to just analyze the facts, you know, if you want to be the public access Channel 13 station that I watched when I was a kid and it's supposed to be objective and not subjective, you know, Miami is a 9-win team at the end of the day. That's the expectation level that I think is mostly out there from the odds makers, which they tend to try to make money and do things correctly. And I'm not sure that they're wrong, you know, but if you are going to win 9 games, it means you're going to lose 3 games, right? And you could say FSU and Louisville, you know, those are toss-ups to me, 50-50 games. So I guess, you know, Vegas expects them to lose both of those, I guess. And some other game that they're not supposed to lose because guess what? For the last 20 years, they've lost games every single year they're not supposed to lose. Every single year. Statistically, 100% of the time for 20 years, they've lost a game they're not supposed to lose. So yeah, Gary, you can write your column about how, you know, nobody understands Miami like Miami does and how, you know, things are going to be great or whatever. But again, I'm just like, show me. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer or whatever. I'm just trying to be a realist. And the realistic thing is they're probably going to lose a game they're not supposed to because Vegas is saying that, okay? Vegas is saying they're going to lose to a team they're going to be favored against. Like, that's the statistics. That's what they're telling us. And, yeah, fans can buy into the hype, and Gary Ferman can buy into the hype, but I like to try to be objective, and I think 9-3 is probably the realistic level at which they are and should be as they build this program from, honestly, a really bad program to a great program. And the recruits, you know, they're going to be great, but they're first, second, and third-year guys right now. And the third-year guys were barely hangers-on in Mario's first month on the job, right? So for the most part, they're really first and second-year guys that are real Mario guys, you know, the guys Mario actually bought in. And, you know, we had like Inez Cooper, I spoke to him, right? And he was talking about how last year there were some bad apples on the team that infected the team. And when Mario brings in all of these transfers, like, we're on the outside looking in. We don't know. What we do know is that one of them showed up and pretty quickly left the team, you know, and had to be cajoled back onto the team. So, you know, is the culture fixed? Because it has to be 85, soon to be 105 guys that are all pulling in the same direction. It can't be 5 of them. It can't be 5 of them being selfish, trying to go to the NFL. You know, like me doesn't work in Mario's system. It's not going to work for this team. And, you know, that's going to be the honestly, you know, we have a story this morning that the biggest keys to Miami's season. I don't think I wrote that, but it is one of the biggest keys is everyone has got to be unselfish. The best teams in the country, the teams that overachieve are the teams that basically everyone's just doing what they're supposed to do. Do your job. Don't do too much. Don't, you know, try and showboat for the NFL and put a big shoulder hit on somebody to knock them out and not wrap them up, and they bounce off you and go for an 80-yard touchdown. You lose the game by 3 points. One play, one selfish play in a game, one selfish practice moment, it can have a serious cascade effect. So, there's a lot to be answered as we enter media day to day and fall practice. And I'll be curious to see also how much access they give us during fall practice. Can we watch a lot of the practices, or are they going to be shutting it down, which I suspect they will, where we can't see anything? And then basically you're learning everything secondhand, third hand from people at Miami who like to talk about how great things are and not say, here are the warts on our team. And then you're really learning in game one. Like last year, I said that too. I said, this is a season where we won't know until whatever, the Texas A&M game. And then we didn't even know then.
Well, we thought we knew. I mean, Miami looked pretty darn good in the Texas A&M game, but obviously there was a lot of season left after that. Things didn't go the way everybody would have liked. All right, so Matt Shodell says, show me. I'm tired of the talk. I'm tired of the feel good every offseason. Show me, Mario. Show me, Miami Hurricanes. Show me that things are not going to be the same this year as they have been in so many years behind us. And you know what? That's not unfair. I mean, it's really not. I mean, there have been disappointments after disappointments, and that's kind of what I wrote about. I mean, it's time for results. It's just, no talk, action, results, wins. Got to win games on Saturdays this year, whether it's 9, 10, 11. Some people want to dream about 12. Hey, if Florida State did it, Miami can do it. I won't argue with that. I mean, I don't know that it's probable to go from, to go jump all the way up to 12 wins this year. Usually there's intermediate steps along the way. But the schedule is relatively favorable, and this has the makings of a very good football team. And, I mean, just to go through very quickly, obviously you got Cam Ward at quarterback. He's got to stay healthy. There is a drop-off, obviously, to Reese Poppenberger and Emory Williams. No argument there. So Cam Ward's health is a huge premium. The running back room is looking really, really good with, Damian Martinez now on campus. You said, what has changed since April? Well, that's one thing that has changed since April. Damian Martinez has joined the running back group, and Mark Fletcher's out there running around. I don't know if he'll be ready day one for full bore work, but he is supposed to make it back into fall camp and be ready for the start of the season. But they can give him a couple carries a game. They don't have to ask Mark Fletcher to do a whole heck of a lot because of everything else that they have in that room. Jay Allen's back. He can take a couple carries a game. Jordan Lyle is a freshman that everyone is just raving about, who absolutely will get a chance to play this year. They are not holding him back. They think he is going to be an elite player at Miami. They are shooting for it this year. They are not going to hold Jordan Lyle back, so he's going to command some carries. Christopher Johnson, the speedster. I don't know if how many of you guys have been playing him in the new college football video game that's out. But you notice he's pretty fast in the video game, and he's pretty fast in person. And Christopher Johnson is going to command some reps in the backfield. And then there's the freshman freak, Elijah Lofton, who looked so good filling in at times at running back in spring practice, and is also going to get some chances to play back there, I would imagine. We'll see what happens there. But the running back room's looking really good. The tight end, Arroyo, back healthy. In the offseason workouts, they've been doing just phenomenal. Him, Lofton, even Riley Williams. The tight end room's looking really good. The injection, and here's another thing that's changed since April, Matt Shodell, since you're looking for things to change since April, Sam Brown, the receiver, is now part of the team. I am told he is clearly the best wide receiver on this football team. Okay, so if he is, in fact, better than Restrepo and better than Jacoby George, that's a positive thing. Now, we got to see it, like Matt says. This is all off-season hype, but people love what they're starting to see now from Sam Brown. O-line, you got a few new pieces you got to work in, but they feel like they're going to be pretty good. I hear the defensive line has made very strong strides since April, and they now feel they have maybe 8 draftable guys they're going to be playing up front for the Miami Hurricanes this year. Wow, what a change that's going to be if that really comes to fruition. Obviously, Kiko Manoa is doing very well in the middle at linebacker. I'm hearing great things about Wesley Bassane, that the light bulb has finally come on. He knows what he's doing out there, and he is in phenomenal physical shape and is poised for a really good season. They got Alderman, the transfer from Louisville, at linebacker to fill in there. Popo Aguirre is ready for playing time. You're going to see him this season. And then your third team, I think, is going to be Cam Pruitt and Adarius Hayes. And these are two guys that are true freshmen who have been standing out in the offseason. I think those guys are going to get a little burn this year as well. Everybody knows the secondary is the biggest question mark on the team, but I'm hearing really good stuff about Mish Powell at one of the safety spots. I think if we're honest, they're one short there. They're going to have Markeith Williams and Jaden Harris battling it out to start at safety. Probably would have liked a more seasoned player when you look at this entire team right now. But everybody's going to have a spot or two where they're playing inexperienced guys. So that'll be something that we'll be watching through training camp, how the safety position develops without question. You got kick returners. I think you're going to see Christopher Johnson on kickoff returns. I think you're going to see Ray Joseph on kickoff returns. Punt returns. I think that even though he's not a breakaway guy, how many punt returns in a season do you really return for a touchdown? I think that they're going to try to go with Restrepo at punt return, kind of like in the mold of with the way we saw Braxton Berrios used here at Miami, a guy that will make the right decisions. He's not going to turn the ball over. You're not going to see crazy punts bouncing for 30, 40 yards because they don't get fielded properly. I think you're going to see Xavier Restrepo, the point person in returning punts, maybe relieved from time to time by Ray Joseph. But that's what I'm expecting there. The kicking game is solid. So when you look at it start to finish, Matt, you say you want to see what's different. I gave you a couple things different. It's pretty solid. I mean, I'm not going to say that there's a ton of first-round draft picks on this team. There aren't. But there seem to be a lot of solid football players and depth that we have not seen here in a real long time.
Yeah, the depth, no question. But I mean, I'll just add a few things to your amazing assessment of a team that, based on what you said, should be undefeated. A year ago, you mentioned Sam Brown being the best receiver. Obviously Cam Ward said Jacoby George is. I trust you over Cam Ward, obviously. But I will point out that last year, people around the program were telling me, I don't know about you, but they're telling me that Colby Young was the best receiver on the team. So, I mean, that just gives you a sense, like sometimes just because whoever your sources tells you something doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be the guy that's going to be targeted the most or has the best matchups, has the biggest games, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the one thing you didn't really mention, and what I really think is a wild card for this team, and yeah, the personnel on offense is absolutely off the charts good. On defense, to me, it's, a little bit to be determined. But on both sides of the ball, what I think we're finally going to see, and you mentioned depth, what you don't mention is versatility. And that, to me, is the biggest difference on this team this year. You're going to see a tight end playing running back, right? They haven't had a guy like Elijah Lofton who can line up all over the place and make defenses crazy, even when you have, 3, 4, 5 really, really good wide receivers. And I've heard that Isaiah Horton, somebody else told me Isaiah Horton is going to start over Sam Brown. So, I mean, the stuff you hear like before practice, like, I still take it with a grain of salt. But again, with the versatility, right? Damian Martinez as a pass catcher, watch out for that. That's a new aspect we haven't seen at Miami. That's something Damian Martinez said he came to Miami because he was told he is going to be catching the ball in addition to running it. And, we look back, I think Shannon Dawson's running backs, I believe they had over 60 catches combined one of his 2 years at Houston. I can't remember which year it was, but this is a coordinator who likes to throw the ball to the running backs. It's just that wasn't part of the offense last year at all. Again, that's diversity. That's something new that we could see. A little check down to a running back that goes for 10, 12 yards. That causes, you do that enough, linebackers come up, safeties come up, you hit them deep, right? I mean, it's so important to do things like that in the flow of a game. It's a chess match. It's not, hey, we're throwing deep every time. Like I know fans always are like, why aren't they throwing the ball down the field? Well, you can't throw the ball down the field against cover zeros. You have to make them come up. You have to make them come up. Sorry, did I say cover zero? Anyway, whatever. On defense, the big thing on defense, okay, the versatility on defense at defensive line. You got Messidor can work inside. and outside. Bain can work inside and outside. Even Tyler Barron could work inside a little bit. Linebacker, Alderman can play all the positions. You mentioned Powell could play safety or nickel. Damari Brown could play nickel or corner. I mean, you have these pieces you can move around. And if you're playing a receiver in the slot who's got a different body type than a different team, you can put a Damari Brown there. You could put a Powell there. You could even put a linebacker there, depending who that slot guy is. So there's just so many different ways that Miami can absolutely, attack teams. So I'm very excited, about all this sort of stuff. So we'll have to wait and see. Let's just sort of see what they do, and I don't know. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to depend a lot on what other teams do. Again, if you have a cover 4, what are you going to do? Are you going to throw deep? Probably not. If you have a cover 0, can you go deep? Yeah. So I mean, these are sort of things that Miami can force other teams to do and take either or. You see what I'm saying? So that's the key.
I mean, it's going to be a schematic season. I mean, the pressure's on Miami's coordinators to deliver. You talked a little bit about losing games not supposed to lose, and you're astutely pointing out that Vegas is almost predicting, well, they are predicting that Miami will do that yet again this year. But they should hopefully be able to manage that a little better, because they're just a better team with more depth. And a big key to this whole thing was a point you made about bad apples. Okay. And, we were told there were some bad apples last year that poisoned the locker room a little bit. That happens a lot, believe it or not, in team sports. It's a long grind with these football teams. You're talking about fall camp in August, and you got to get through September, October, November. And listen, there's a lot of guys on this team that came to Miami for the stage. I mean, they are here because this is their chance to showcase themselves at the U to the National Football League. Well, not everyone's going to be happy with their playing time. Okay. And that is going to be one of the keys to the season. Can these guys work through personal disappointments that they are going to have during the course of the season? Okay. Maybe a Simeon Barrow doesn't think he's getting enough reps at defensive tackle. Maybe Tyler Barron doesn't like the rotation at defensive end. Maybe Ruben Bain is not getting to make the impact he made last year because now he's sharing his position with more guys that can play. I'm talking about defensive line there, but you could go over to running back. How's Jay Allen going to feel about being maybe the 4th guy at running back this year? It's very realistic that it could work out that way. So there's a lot of these individual situations where guys are going to have to sacrifice their personal agendas and their personal pride for the good of the team. And that's easier said than done. I know as they're preparing, I know Cam Ward has been prepared, hey, you're great throwing the ball. And I know, you're looking for this big year and everything, but winning trumps everything. And we've got a pretty good running game and a pretty good offensive line too. So this isn't going to be just walk out there all the time and throw it every down. There might be individual defenses that they play, individual games that necessitate that type of offensive strategy. But coming out of the gate, there's no mindset sitting here thinking, oh, geez, we got to get Cam Ward 400 yards every game. He's got to have, a 4,500 yard season. There's nobody thinking like that, I don't believe. Right now, the signs are good. Everybody seems together. It's easy to be together in June and July. Okay. That unquestionably is going to be one of the challenges this year. You can't, you just can't let any poison into the locker room. You just can't. So that don't blow games that you're not supposed to lose, and you take care of those couple things, and you're going to be sitting there in a pretty good place in November, I think. So we will have tons of coverage this week on all this stuff starting later today. We'll be at Media Day and get to talk to a whole bunch of guys. We'll be bringing you all that content here this week. You will be overloaded. You will be getting your fix that you've been missing here during the offseason at times. You're going to know a lot more about your Miami Hurricanes by the end of the week between the coverage we're going to bring you, and then those of you that are local, what you're going to see out at Canes Fest on Sunday. So looking forward to that for sure. All right, Matt, you mentioned another story that we do have on the website today, and that was our staff putting together a roundtable on the biggest keys to success for the Miami Hurricanes in 2024. And there's so many things that you could point at, and we certainly touched on some of those here in the opening moments of the show. But when I took my shot at that, even though it's a little bit of a cliche, no argument. But one of the things that I pointed at is that, I mean, you got to stay healthy, okay? Like, you feel really good about what you're going into the season with, but what you don't want to start having happen is attrition. You don't want to start losing some of your key guys because this team, while it's deep, it's not deep with top-heavy talent. And there are key guys out there that you can't afford to lose. But, so all of us on the CaneSport staff, all four of us took a shot at this. And that story is on the website today. Make sure you do check that out. This might be a good time to point out that if you like this show and like this channel, please hit your subscribe and like buttons. It does help us with the algorithms at YouTube in growing our audience. And if you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please, 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 your subscriptions allow us to do what we do every day to try to make your fan experience the best that it can be. And your fan experience can't be the best it can be without knowledge about the team, without insight. And we bring that to you hopefully every single day. But it's really important. We need you guys on our message boards talking about it, interacting with other fans, enjoying what we do every day at CaneSport.com. So if you're not yet a subscriber, please, please, please come on board. Now is the absolute perfect time with training camp set to begin. Okay, other things that are on the website this morning. I've got a mailbag where we spent a few days doing questions and answers with the fans. A lot of really good questions, as usual. A lot of really knowledgeable fans at CaneSport.com, kind of what I was just talking about. It's a great community to be a part of. So you've got that on the website today. We've been counting down the top 30 players on the team and taking deep dives into each guy. Today, we're at number 2, Xavier Restrepo, a guy that is obviously going to have a huge, huge role on this team. Matt, there's a huge connection with Restrepo and Tyler Van Dyke. Obviously, sometimes people thought too much. There were times they felt there was too much Restrepo, that other guys weren't getting to eat enough because all Van Dyke did was look at Restrepo. Now you've got Cam Ward coming in. Obviously, he sees Restrepo. We saw it in spring practice. Restrepo was making play after play after play with Cam Ward firing footballs to him. Then Cam Ward goes to ACC Media Day and some other media opportunities in the offseason, and he's pumping up Jacoby George. He's saying Jacoby George is going to have a big year this year. Okay. I'm saying I think Sam Brown's going to have a big year this year. That, my sources are telling me Sam Brown is going to be the man for the Hurricanes this year. Okay. So where are there going to be enough footballs for all these guys? Number one. But when you look at the quality of Restrepo's season last year, and I already mentioned that I think he's going to get the opportunity to return punts this year again as well. Can you get too much Restrepo? Is there such a thing? Will Cam Ward fall into that security blanket where Restrepo is so reliable as a possession guy and a big play, big down player, making plays down the field, that Cam Ward goes back to Tyler Van Dyke mode and starts looking for Restrepo all the time?
Well, I'm going to put my Ferman hat on for a minute. That would be conspiracy theories. And when you have a quarterback, Cam Ward, who's been around the block, okay, he's been, this is his 5th year in college football. He knows what happens when you talk to the media. He knows how to talk to the media. He's at a position of tremendous importance. So when he starts saying Jacoby George is the best receiver on the team, which is clearly what he said. I mean, he literally said that. He's not saying it necessarily because it's true. In my opinion, I think part of it is because Cam Ward is a tremendous leader, and he recognizes that Jacoby George is a little bit fragile when it comes to his mindset. This is a guy who literally had 5 penalties, five just, lost his mind penalties last year. Was suspended previously, I think 2 years ago, whatever it was, had an offseason incident. His confidence level, some players, they have their own inner confidence, and nothing will destroy that. Some players need to know that you like them, you want them to do well, and you are going to be throwing to them no matter what they do. And I think Jacoby George falls into the latter category. So if you put your Ferman hat on, you can say that Cam Ward doesn't believe it, but said it because he needs to pump up Jacoby George mentally and get Jacoby George in the game, and not have Jacoby George thinking, oh my gosh, I brought in Sam Brown and he's so good, and now Xavier's back. I'm never going to go to the NFL. I'm like the 3rd or 4th best receiver on this team. Cam Ward's not even going to throw to me. Cam Ward stands up there in front of the national press and says Jacoby George is the best receiver on this team. And now all of a sudden, if you're Jacoby George, you're dancing. You're dancing in the Florida hurricane, whatever, tropical storms, whatever, dancing in the rain. So to me, that I'm actually buying into the Ferman theory because I think it's true. I have heard from nobody else on the planet Earth that Jacoby George is better than Xavier Restrepo or necessarily even Sam Brown or necessarily even Horton. So the first time I ever heard this was literally when Cam Ward said it. It took me by major surprise. And again, I'm not sure that Cam Ward, if you put a lie detector test on his finger, is that how you do lie detector tests? I don't know. However you do lie detector tests, if you could read his mind, I'm not sure that he would pass that. Yeah. I'm not sure he would pass that exam.
I think they do. They put it on your finger.
And not that Jacoby George isn't great, by the way, but for a quarterback, for anybody to say this is the best player at that position, that's just unheard of. It just doesn't happen. There's a reason Cam Ward did it, and I think the reason is he wants to get Jacoby George's head in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good conspiracy theory. I really do. But it all goes back to the same theme. Everybody's, going to have to just accept their roles and understand that if they're not putting up monster stats, it's because there's a lot of guys on this team that need to have a spot at the dinner table, so to speak. So anyway, other stories on the website today. We've got some recruiting stuff. We're not going to stop covering recruiting. You'll see it start to take on a little bit of a 2026 slant because the 2025 class is now so deep towards being done. But we do have a story today on Miami commit Jabari Antoine. He has found fashion world success with his own clothing brand that sold out in the first 2 months. Now he wants to go global. I think you guys are going to enjoy that story. We got a story on 2027 running back Jacavian Parker. Miami among the programs that have offered him. He's starting to get a bunch of offers. Tennessee offered him. Ole Miss offered him. He's very excited about all that. We got a story on him. We got a story on tight end prospect Caden Prothro, a guy that's looking very good and seriously considering Miami here early in his recruiting game. He was on campus this past weekend. We had the chance to talk to him. We got a story on that on the website today as well. But now it's time for us to get ready to go out to Media Day, big day out on campus, and we will have tons of coverage for you coming on CaneSport.com as the day goes forward, the week goes forward. We will be firing it at you guys so you could start getting excited about these 2024 Miami Hurricanes. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're happy to be back with you guys here at Sunrise. We'll be doing it almost every day here over the next several months with the football season here. So we should end up enjoying our mornings, everybody, but Matt, of course. But you guys have a great day. We'll be firing that content at you. And we'll check in with you guys again tomorrow morning. Goodbye, everybody.